Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. MCO 3.0, time to do it differently? And is vaccine passport a ticket to normalcy? That's coming up. Details for the second round of voluntary AstraZeneca vaccinations will be announced next week. Coordinating Minister for the National COVID-19 Immunization Programme, Khairi Jamaluddin, said this time the AstraZeneca Vaccine Dispensing Centre or PPV locations will include those outside Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. In a tweet, Khairi said while much attention has been given to the opt-in AstraZeneca track under PIC, Phase 2 is well underway with more seniors receiving their appointments. Registration for the AstraZeneca vaccine opened on May 2nd to 268,000 people in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor on a first-click and first-served basis, wherein all the doses were fully booked within 3 hours. Yesterday, the first day of the opt-in AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccination program went smoothly as eager Malaysians showed up to receive their first shot at 4 PPVs set aside for the vaccine. Canada is authorizing the use of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children from the ages of 12 to 15. The country is among the first to grant such approval as it is confident that the vaccine is safe and effective in the younger age group. Alberta will become the first province in Canada to offer the vaccines to the age group and more beginning May 10th as the province introduced tighter public health measures to combat a raging third wave of the pandemic. Canada's federal government has bought tens of millions of doses of vaccines, but critics complain that the pace of inoculation is lagging due to bottlenecks in the 10 provinces. The US Food and Drug Administration is also expected to take a similar step by early next week. After the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was approved to be used for those aged 12 to 15 in Canada yesterday, Prime Minister's Special Advisor on Public Health, Dr. Jamila Mahmud, hopes Malaysia would also follow these guidelines.
In a tweet, she said adolescents under the age of 18 are also at risk of contracting COVID-19. By including this group to the national COVID-19 immunization program, which accounts to about 30% of the country's population, would help in achieving herd immunity. On Thursday, Canada's drug regulator gave green light for the use of the Pfizer vaccine for the age group after the country's health ministry said it was safe and effective in those younger.
MCO 3.0 is upon us. With the school holiday and Raya celebrations coming up, are existing SOPs sufficient to prevent another wave of COVID-19 infections? We speak to public health and health economics expert Professor Syed Muhammad Al-Junid to discuss if MCO is the right step to take and if more needs to be done to curb the spread of the virus.
So if you want to use the MCOs as a mechanism to control the pandemic, it has to be very short duration, and it has to be more focused rather than generic, covering wide space and wide areas. And the SOPs related to MCOs must be very clear. This is not the characteristic that we see in MCO2 as well as MCO3. What the government should do at the moment is not too much just focusing on the MCOs, but to actually activate other mechanisms that can be used in order to improve the control of the outbreak. For example, improvement and also looking at all the current SOPs that has been implemented. This needs to be studied by the team that are appointed by the government to look into all this and study carefully what is working and what is not working, what are duplicating and what are confusing. I think this needs to be carried out. And of course, you need people not only in Ministry of Health to actually do this. You need to get experts from other agencies and also other entities who can actually provide some information, ideas to solve this problem. At the moment, what I can see, all the activities are being done or controlled at the central level. When you do everything at the central level, normally you miss a lot of important points, a lot of important action which might be effective at the local level that has not been taken on board. I think if we do this, we have stand a better chance rather than centralize everything at the central level, which may not be effective when it comes to tackling issues at the ground level.
Professor Said Al-Junaid emphasized on the need for the government to take a step back and re-strategize in order to come up with more effective measures in dealing with the pandemic.
We are actually running in circles at the moment. I don't think that we will be able to achieve more. What we need to do more is to step back, look at what we have done over the past 1 year, find the better solution, look at activities that are producing positive impact, and we have to re-strategize. So in other words, we have to have a long-term plan in order for us to actually tackle these issues properly. What we are doing at the moment, we are just firefighting. This is not the way forward when we are dealing with a pandemic of a large scale that we are facing at the moment.
Malaysia is among the top countries most optimistic about COVID-19 vaccine passports. A survey by Ipsos found that 92% of Malaysians agree that vaccine passports should be used to allow entry into a country, while 82% believe that having it will make large events gathering safe.
Managing Director of Ipsos Malaysia, Ariminon, said this could be linked to the fact that Malaysians are also among the most concerned about the pandemic and are hopeful that vaccine passports would allow life to return to normalcy.
Despite the fact that we might not have as many COVID cases or surges as the US and some of the other countries in the region, the concern is quite high. So I believe that this will be linked to it. Because the concern is high, they said that this will make things much safer and much effective.
The report showed that Malaysia trails just behind China and India, an expectation that vaccine certificates would be widely used by the end of 2021. So
we know that from our survey that 75% of the Malaysians are pro-vaccination in itself. They would want to go. There are 25% has a hesitancy from the survey, the general public population as well. Yes, among the 75%, there is a good number of people who wants to vaccinate but want to wait and watch kind of a situation as well. But another 25% said that no, we don't want to take it, kind of a scenario in itself, right? So we are generally quite positive. It's like, overwhelmingly positive towards vaccination in itself. But this is more in the sense that we want to get back to normal, and whatever kind of whether it's a health certificate or a vaccine passport that help us to reach there, they're willing to take it.
So how soon can vaccine passports be implemented?
Yes, it's any this kind of passport and certificate is be more effective as more and more people can subscribe to this program, and more and people will have access to this in a way, right? And I think as also anyway, I don't think any government has a plan to have 100% vaccination. They would probably have a target of vaccination to reach the herd immunity and others as well. But we also need to have our economy moving on the side. And this kind of passport and certificate help those things to move, right? As in the sense that as there is a COVID, so we need to contain the COVID and pandemic. At the same time, we need to drive our economy and business and, the income and everything. So what something like a passport or certificate helps that part as well.
The survey was conducted in 28 countries involving of over 21,000 individuals, including 500 Malaysians from March 26 to April 9, 2021.
The government today failed in its bid to strike out a lawsuit by a group of Malaysian mothers who want citizenship for their children born overseas. The High Court rejected the government's argument that the court case was frivolous. Judge Dato' Akhtar Tahir said there was clearly discrimination in Malaysia's citizenship law against Malaysian mothers and asked the government to justify its citizenship law. Justice Akhtar also said that the articles in the Constitution make the non-justification and discrimination more clear and glaring. The court has set June 30th to hear the originating summons. The lawsuit was filed on December 18th last year by the Association of Family Support and Welfare Selangor and Kuala Lumpur and the 6 Malaysian women. We'll take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. COVID-19 infections in India hit another grim daily record, with total new infections surpassing 400,000, while the number of dead from the virus rose to a record 3,980. A demand for medical oxygen jumped sevenfold, and the government denied reports that it was slow in distributing life-saving supplies from abroad. A massive wave of infections since April has pushed India's healthcare system to the brink. The crisis has been most acute in the capital, New Delhi, among other cities. However, 70% of its 1.3 billion population is in the rural areas, where limited public healthcare is posing more challenges. State governments around the country, like Kerala, are implementing lockdowns to curb the spread of the infection. The United States has announced the support for waiving intellectual property protection for COVID-19 vaccines in a move that will boost vaccine supply. The decision by President Joe Biden is a breakthrough in fighting the pandemic equitably, but is expected to anger major pharmaceutical companies. India and South Africa had for the last 6 months attempted to get World Trade Organization members to agree to such a waiver for all COVID-19 interventions, including therapeutics and diagnostics. The US support for IP waiver is limited to COVID-19 vaccines. After the US support, European Union will be the only major trade bloc that continues to oppose the move at WTO. The Gavi Vaccine Alliance welcomed the United States support. The next step is for the WTO to hammer out a deal, a process that could take months. Gavi, which collates the COVAX vaccine sharing program with the World Health Organization, faces major supply constraints after India suspended vaccine exports due to its major COVID-19 pandemic. Tokyo will seek to extend its state of emergency until the end of the month, in a move that will spark more questions about its ability to host the Olympics. Japan had hoped a short and powerful emergency would contain a fourth wave of infections just under 3 months before Tokyo is set to host the Games from July 23rd. Japan has not suffered as badly from the virus as other nations, but its vaccination campaign is lagging badly, with even many elderly people still waiting for inoculations. Still, Japan and the International Olympics Committee insist the Olympics will go on, though foreign spectators have been banned. Hong Kong democracy activist Joshua Wong will face an additional 10 months in jail. He was found guilty for participating in an unauthorized assembly in June last year to commemorate the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown in Beijing.
24-year-old Wong is already in prison due to other illegal assembly convictions and among 47 activists charged under Hong Kong's new national security law. It was the first time the Tiananmen Square vigil was banned in the city, with police citing COVID restrictions on group gatherings. It is expected to face a similar fate this year. Wong was sentenced to 15 months in prison for the offence. However, it was then reduced to 10 after he pleaded guilty.
The recent DAP Johor contest captured headlines as a battle between two divergent tendencies in a party, one leaning towards its Chinese demographic base and the other towards its stated multiracial commitments. Tonight on Consider This, we speak to the panelists about the party dynamics. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news update on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Farhana Sheikh. We'll see you again.